Yatsuya dislikes the city of Tokyo and its people. One day at school, Yatsuya sees two boys talking about an athlete named Shindu-san. At night he thinks about Shindu-san while playing a game at his house. The next day in class, Yatsuya sees Hakazaki and Shindu talking to each other. The teacher says to Yatsuya, "You have not decided your future. Your running is good, so you join a team, then you go to an athlete school." Yatsuya thinks in his mind about that game, then he sees Hakazaki and Shindu sitting there, but when he looks again they have disappeared. Suddenly the world around him changes and he falls into a pool of water and he has entered a strange world. He comes to know that Hakazaki and Shindu have brought me here. Then a half-headed creature appears there and says, "Call me Game Master." He gives them quest and gives 14 days time to complete it. He says there are 8 steps left in the quest, and when you complete the steps, one new member will join your team. He gives Yatsuya an occupation as a farmer to work there and leaves. Yatsuya becomes a farmer and gets a farming tool. Shindu tells him, "I went back to our world after completing a quest, but the Game Master has called me again. Then the Game Master told me to make friends with Hakazaki, and while you were watching us in class, we decided that the next member would be you." And Yatsuya realizes this is not a dream, this world is like a video game. He sees a log pointer, he asks about it. Shindu tells him this is a log point that stores the previous scene. When he touches it, he sees Hakazaki scared and Shindu is explaining to her. Suddenly goblins come there. Yatsuya dies from a goblin attack while fighting them, but he revives after 30 seconds. They attack the goblins again and kill them all, thus they complete one step of quest. They sit at night and plan for the next day. Yatsuya goes to the same place where he killed Goblin and wonders what reward I should get from Game Master. A monster attacks Hakazaki and Shindu and he kills Shindu and eats her. Yatsuya picks up Hakazaki and runs away. The next day they both go to a village where the chief of the village tells them a monster called Troll is shown up outside the village. My request is to defeat him and save the village. Yatsuya tells Hakazaki, "You stay in the village and I am going to raise my rank." Yatsuya goes into the forest where he intends to kill weak monsters to increase his rank. He kills many goblins, but one escapes, then his rank becomes 9. He sees that Hakazaki is dead. He looks towards the village and there is a fire in all the village. He runs to the village, but no one is there. He sees a log point, touching it he discovers that the village was attacked by that monster and he kills Hakazaki and eats her. Suddenly that monster comes out there. Yatsuya runs for his life, but the monster catches up to him and hits him so hard that he goes flying and falls near the forest. The monster then jumps to him. Yatsuya enters the forest to save his life, but the monster keeps chasing him to kill him. Yatsuya somehow manages to save his life every time when the monster attacks him. While running, suddenly a goblin comes in front of him and he kills the goblin. He sees the monster stop in his place. Meanwhile, the Game Master comes there and tells him that your rank is 10 now. He spins the wheel and chooses a new occupation for Yatsuya. This time he is a chef, and among the weapons he has a knife. He runs and cuts the monster's stomach with that knife. Blood flows from the monster's stomach and thus both Hakazaki and Shindu are revived. They thanks him and asks, "Why did you change your dress?" He tells them, "My profession has changed, now I am a chef." Then the 3 of them together attack the monster several times, but the monster kills them. Yatsuya then goes inside the monster's wound and tries to cut it with his knife, but the monster pulls him out and he dies again. Meanwhile, Shindu climbs onto the monster's head and she casts her wind magic spell which kills the monster. Again, the Game Master comes in front of them and says to Yatsuya, "You have completed the quest, now you can ask me a question." Yatsuya asks what we will do after completing the 10 steps. Then they see their town where they have to face a huge monster. They are back in their own world. The 3 of them are in the same classroom as they were before. Shindu leaves for her practice and they both, Hakazaki and Yatsuya, go home together. Yatsuya thinks, "I saw that monster destroying the city, and if I abandon the quest, this city which I don't like could be destroyed." Hakazaki talks to one of her friend Hashi about Yatsuya and says, "I am very impressed with him." Yatsuya is running on the road at night and at the same time he thinks that if I have to end up saving the city that I don't like, then why did they choose me? Meanwhile, he gets a call from the Game Master who tells him that you have to pick up a girl now. After that you will be able to qualify for the next quest. Game Master tells him to go to girls' school and there is a girl with glasses, you must pick her. Yatsuya goes there and there are 3 girls, has dropped a 4th girl with glasses and one of them is filming her. He breaks the mobiles of the 3 of them and they run away to call the police. He takes the girl with him. On the way he says to her, "Were those girls bullying you?" She says the girl who was filming me, she had some misunderstanding while she starts crying. He pulls out the mobile to call the game master to ask about the mission. She says I am fine now, then she tells him about a game and then leaves. Yatsuya plays that game for 2 weeks, then he reaches that strange world again. This time they are accompanied by that girl named Takate Yuka. The game master arrives there and gives the power of wizard heat to Takate. He gives them their next quest, which is deliver the goods to Rodo and traverse 5% of map. Then he tells them the time limit is 40 days to complete the quests, then he leaves. After that, Takate gets angry at Yatsuya and says, "You kidnapped me. Why did you bring me here?" Shindu tells Takate about the mission planning. Takate is very impressed with her. All 4 of them are going to the forest when suddenly a corpse of a bug falls there. Yatsuya says it's a demon bug, Katamlet. That bug attacks them and kills all of them one by one, but Yatsuya face his attacks and defeat him. Seeing this, Takate and Shindu impressed by him. Shindu sees a dream at night and wakes up in fear. Yatsuya asks her, "Why are you crying?" She says, "You seem more observant." The next day they all go to that village that was destroyed by the monster. The village is restored to its original condition. There comes a person who recognizes them all and says, "You guys are heroes." Yatsuya asks him about Rodo. He tells them Rodo is on the last edge of the continent, and if you go on horseback it may take you 30 days to get there. Shindu tells him to lend us your horse, but he refuses. He tells them there is going to be a martial arts tournament in a nearby town and its reward is 3 horses. They plan to win the tournament to get the horses. Then while going into the forest they encounter wild bandits who attack them. The bandits capture Shindu and the other 3 manage to run away from them. Yatsuya tells them we should try to fulfill the quest. Then they plan that we split into 2 groups and Yatsuya will enter the tournament and the other 2 will save Shindu. Hakazaki and Takate go to rescue Shindu but are caught and imprisoned. Yatsuya kills many goblins and his rank becomes high and now he becomes a wizard creature. He goes to that tournament and fights a knight named Captain Koval, but Yatsuya is killed. Then he revives and tells the knight, "If you give me those 3 horses, I could do work for you." She tells him, "You help us kill the monsters." He says, "I will kill the bandits." Then she takes him to her father, who agrees to give him a horse. The night girl teaches Yatsuya how to wield a sword. Then at night they attack the bandits with the army. The bandits release a berserker from the cage to confront them. Captain Koval fights with him, but her stamina runs out and the sword falls from her hand. Yatsuya uses his wizard creature power and attacks him, but that berserker catches him and kills. Meanwhile, Koval jumps and just blows the berserker's head off. Then Yatsuya revives and saves his teammates, and tells them, "I lost the tournament, but I have a horse." Captain Koval comes there and tells them, "I am a knight and I have a suggestion for you." She tells them, "I will get you more horses and take you Rodo." Koval's father thanks Yatsuya to help them. Then they get horses to go to a Botaro. On the way, they camp at a place to rest. Yatsuya cooks food for everyone. Koval comes to him and says, "Let me teach you swordsmanship." Yatsuya's other 3 teammates see this and think that maybe she wants to teach us how to wield a sword. Yatsuya says, "I have fought with her 100 times, but I have won only 3 times. After that it is the turn of Hakazaki, but she cannot lift the sword and falls. She thinks our own world was much peaceful than this." Meanwhile, Kable's soldiers come there and say that we have gone to collect firewood where goblins attacked us. Yatsuya heals the soldier's wound with magic. The next day a soldier tells them that we have seen a horde of goblins. Hearing this, he says that we will do this work. We have faced them before but didn't get much experience, so now we will kill them. Then the 4 of them go and use their magic and kill the goblins. At night when they are all together, Koval tells them, "I love to slice the living. I have not yet killed goblins with my hands. I wish I could kill." Then she takes her soldiers along and says, "I am going to patrol in the forest. There are even more goblins out there." The next day while going on, the wheel of their carriage gets stuck inside a pit. Then together they push it out. Then Hakazaki notices something and she tells her colleagues. When they see, they are some people who have been attacked by the monsters. Hakoi says, "I want to save their lives." They split into 2 groups. Hakazaki and Yatsuya go to rescue that people. But those monsters are more stronger than both of them. They cannot compete with that monsters and both are killed. Hakazaki revives and kills a monster with her long sword. The second monster runs after Yatsuya. Meanwhile, their second group arrives and the captain's Kavi blows the monster's head off. That people thanks them and say that we are soldiers of the kingdom of Diok and we are taking some heretics and we have to execute them to Rodo. Yatsuya thinks if this is the good we have to deliver to Rodo. Then he has a notification that he has been downranked because a human attack is detected. Captain Kaval and soldiers leader Corporal Kamilto start fighting, but Shindu stops them. Yatsuya calls all the heroes to him, and they decide that we will go to Rodo with these soldiers, and then we will save these prisoners from execution. Then they all move forward together. On the way, Kamilto says we will camp here. There, a prisoner narrates his story to the heroes, saying that the king of Deok's kingdom has done us a lot of wrongs. They kills the innocent, so we are being taken to Rodo to be executed. Yatsuya thinks we have to do something here to complete the quest. They all go to Kamilto and sit down with him. Yatsuya asks him, why are you taking that prisoners so far to execute them? Kamilto says our king has done many things for the weak people, and we want to remove these arteros from this continent. Takatate says it is a dictatorship. The king is oppressing the small nation, you should all be killed. Kamilto get angry, but Yatsuya stops him. The next day, Shindu and Kaval practice swordsmanship. Kamilto says to Yatsuya, it will take us 7 days to cross this mountain, and from there, Rodo is 5 days away. Hakazaki says it will take us 12 days, and we still have 13 days and 20 hours left to complete the quest. Kaval asks if it will be easy to cross this mountain with horse-drawn carriages. Kamilto says it is difficult but not impossible, but I know an alternative route. He deceives them and leads them to a strange cave and traps them there, and escapes himself by blocking the way to the cave. The cave is very strange, with huge machines that are powered by water and various traps. They escape from some traps, but Yatsuya falls into a deep pit. He can't get out of there and tells them to keep moving forward. He tries to break the wall with his tool, so it cuts through the wall. Then he thinks, I'm going to use it as a place to put my feet and climb up. As they continue to move forward, next they encounter a gargoyle who is dead, but his body fluid enters him and he starts moving. Yatsuya climbs up the wall with the help of his tool, and next he sees a log point. When he touches it and sees that one of the knights is dead, he remembers his moments with him and moves on. That gargoyle moves towards them, and with that bats also attack them. They kill those bats. Kaval fights with the gargoyle when he approaches them, but Kaval gets injured and falls into the water. Gargoyle then attacks Shindu. Shindu's foot falls on a bat and the bat dies. Meanwhile, the game master comes there and says that your rank has reached 10. Then Shindu gets another power of the warrior sword. She thinks about how Kaval taught her to fight with a sword. She attacks the gargoyle in the same way, but he cuts off her hand. She climbs on top of him and kills him with her sword from above. Yatsuya runs towards them and thinks that there is a purpose to make me too. I still have a lot to do for my team. When he reaches them, they tell him Kaval has fallen into the water. Yatsuya jumps into the water to save her. He rescues Kaval and takes her out, and they also manage to get out of the cave. Yatsuya heals Kaval's wound with his healing magic. When Kaval regains consciousness, she wakes up and sees that my wound is healed. She asks how it happened. The soldier tells her that Yatsuya did it, and to heal it he emptied the blood containers over and over. Now he has gone into a deep dead sleep. The other 3 heroes comes there. Kaval tells them that Yatsuya is always looking for how much he is capable. She tells them, in my country we use a league system to rank knights. There are 3,000 participants, and the top 100 can become knights. I like to cut live flesh, so my father sent me so that I can do real battle. She asks how far Deok's soldiers must have gone. The other knight, Makua, tells her that they are going a long way over the mountain and we will catch them soon. Hakazaki says we have 7 days and 10 hours left. Shindu sits next to Yatsuya. He wakes up from sleep and says we must think about what kind of goods we have to deliver there. He refers to all the previous quests and says this time also it is not clear what goods we have to deliver and to whom, so now we should split into 2 groups. Yatsuya says we have 7 days and 1 hour left, and they all divided into 2 teams. Team A to find cargo bound for Rodo, and Team B to follow the Deok soldiers. Team A goes on their way and says if we go through the settlements we will find a merchant with whom we can go to Rodo. Shindu from Team B says that it will be more useful if we ambush the Deok soldiers. They find them and watch their departure from the hill, but Yatsuya says there are no obstacles in this place, so we won't attack now. In the evening, Takatate says to Yatsuya, I am very impressed with your decisions. This makes you look like the Demon King. Yatsuya says I used to play games in my world, and my daily job was to think about killing enemies. Then he leaves and sits next to the Shindu. At night, the Deok officer Kamilto says to his soldiers that our chief officers are all dead and I am left to command. It is a very difficult journey, but we shall take that prisoners and execute them on the international port town of Rodo and prevent them from entering our continent. Meanwhile, Yatsuya comes to them. Kamilto says to his soldiers, did you get him out of that dungeon? Then they prepare to fight with him, but Yatsuya says I am just here to negotiate. He says we are heroes, our wounds heal in 20 seconds, and if we die, we revive in 40 seconds, you can't defeat us. He says everyone with me is dead. Only me and Takatate are left. Takatate comes there, she says Yatsuya is a hero, but he converted to the religion of Arteros. Yatsuya says my co-religionists are imprisoned with you, hand them over to me. Otherwise I will convert all people to my religion and the whole world will be filled with Arteros. You have until morning and I will return to the same place. Until then you make your decision. Then they both leave. Camilto and his soldiers talk among themselves that these heroes are lying. Takatate comes to them again and says I am secretly here. I have not changed my religion. Come with me and we'll go and catch him. Camilto says I don't trust you. He leaves one of his soldiers there with the prisoners and he himself takes another soldier and goes with him. Takatate takes them away when there is none and they kill her. When she is revived they tie her with a rope and Camilto says so you were lying. Now I will take you to Rebirth and throw you into the sea. When they get back to their place, there is Yatsuya sitting. Takatate tells them it is true that our comrades have died, but Yatsuya has changed his religion, this is a lie. Then Yatsuya drives away the carriage from there and he takes Takatate with him and runs away on their horse. Camilto and his soldier try to catch them but they can't do that. Yatsuya says to Takatate now Camilto will inform that Cortonal Knight and all with him are dead and the heroes have done this for revenge. In this way the conditions between Diak and Cortonal will be fine. Then they both reach a cave where 3 people are already living. Then Yatsuya makes a plan with Takatate and Kaval. He says we will make statues out of cloth and hang them with ropes around their necks to show that we have killed the 3 prisoners. Takatate tells him that it is bad to take a human life. Yatsuya says humans have been killed before because of us, so don't worry about it. Diak King says that the news we have is that Camilto has failed. His commander tells him that the real problem is that those heroes have become our enemies. He says we should kill those heroes. King says okay, then find some way to kill those heroes. Team B stands and Yatsuya tells them that we are not sure of success yet because we don't know what the Camilto have written in the letter to the king. Then they talk about Team Hakazaki and Shindu are looking for cargo, but they don't find any cargo going to Rebirth. Yatsuya shows Takatate some good he has kept inside the carriage and says it might be the good that we have to deliver to Rebirth. They are accompanied by a child who was injured and healed by Yatsuya. Hey, I'll move on. On the way Takatate thinks that maybe Kaval is looking sad because she wants to sit with Yatsuya. Then they stop at one place. Yatsuya says now we have more people going so we will have to stop more often. Their Kaval says to Yatsuya at our current pace we should reach our destination the day after tomorrow, our journey is almost over. Takati is taking a lot of notice of the 2 of them. She thinks Kaval wants to express her love with Yatsuya. As she used to play the game in her world, she asks them both to do it but with no such result as she wants. Tima stands in one place. Hakazaki tells her teammates, in this world only transport agencies do the work of carrying goods. Once a month they go. Now we wait here if we are lucky, so they might be taking it today. A carriage with goods comes from the front and they stop it. Shindu says him if you don't mind please allow us to escort you to Rebirth. That merchant says I can't take heroes with me. I don't want any competition. Then Shindu we can't back down. The merchant says I won't let this happen and he gets ready to fight with her but Shindu knocks him down. Kaval says thank you to Yatsuya. Hearing this Takatate thinks I was thinking everything wrong about them. The next day they reaches Rebirth and gives them the goods which are actually the severed heads of the Diak soldiers, thus their one quest is cleared. Tima also reaches there. Yatsuya and his team split up to complete the next quest. Kaval is sitting in a hotel. Makua gives her tea and says we should postpone our departure because I heard that the weather here is unique and there will be a heavy snowstorm tonight. She starts thinking about Yatsuya that I will say goodbye to him. She tells Makua okay, we will postpone our departure and you also rest now. She thinks about all the past events and says to herself, I am a knight, my home is on the battlefield. Yatsuya stands in the snow when a blizzard starts. When he feels cold he changes his dress, but he still feels cold. He thinks that if I die here I will not be able to revive again. He does some knee lifts to raise his body temperature. Takatate is also going in this snowstorm. When it is very cold she doesn't give up and thinks that when I came into this world I made my own decision, I have to stay strong, and she goes on. Hakazaki is also not able to face this snowstorm, but still she does not lose heart and keeps going on the way. Shindu thinks about her childhood and past life events, that how I coped with every situation, and thinks I can't die here, I have to work hard. Hakazaki falls down exhausted and their quest is also cleared, but she can't get up again. Shindu sees the severed head of a statue lying on the ground. Yatsuya sees that there are still 10 kilometers to go. He thinks, how can we do it in this situation? Then he moves forward and thinks, I need to build a shelter where I can wait out this storm. Meanwhile, he hears a voice when he sees it as a giant monster who attacks him, but he escapes. Yatsuya fights with the monster and kills it with his knife. There are monster babies standing next to him crying. He looks at them and wonders if monsters have babies too. Then he moves forward and thinks, how far do I have to go? There are only 5 hours left. He thinks about Shindu and Hakazaki, that I am doing all this because of them both. I will not let anyone die who is more powerful than me. If we don't complete this quest, we will actually die in the real world, but why were we selected? He stomps down angrily on the ground and falls down deep and dies. In Blizzard, Takatate builds a shelter and sits inside it. She thinks, I have always been a magical girl. Yatsuya is revived and looks up wondering how I came back to life. He gets up and looks around. There are bones lying there. He thinks it is a secret dungeon. Then Hakazaki dies. Shindu-san thinks that the wind has died down enough now so I can move on. She sees a village which she is very happy to see and runs towards that village and says, I will save Hakazaki if I get a horse and a carriage, but suddenly the ice breaks under her feet and she falls into the water and dies. Seeing this, Yatsuya thinks that I was counting on her, but now I have to do something by going back. But when he starts to go back, he can't find a way out. Suddenly there is an earthquake and an earthworm-like monster comes out and eats him. Now Takatate is the only one left alive and everyone else is dead. When she finds out that Yatsuya is also dead, she gets scared. Then in front of her is the character of that game, which she plays in her world with great passion. She is Maja, a purple, who asks her about the steps of the game. Then she sees Kevin, a character Tsubasa Kayan from the game. She is then spotted by a lady who uses her wind magic and flies her away with such speed that their quest is cleared. Then everyone comes alive and asks who finished the quest. Takatate tells them, I have done it. There the game master comes and says to Takatate that you have completed the quest and as your reward you can ask a question. She asks if this world is actually virtual. Game master replies it has the concept of parallel worlds which becomes more unrealistic, and this world is not virtual. In it everything is real. You are virtual in this world. Hearing this, Yatsuya thinks sadly, if this is all real in the world, then I have killed a human being. Shindo asks Takatate what happened to Yatsuya. She replies, we didn't tell you the whole story. When we saved Artero's followers, he killed a man. Then they all return to their world, but Yatsuya goes into deep shock. He is always self-absorbed. He thinks, I am the only one who has killed someone. One day on his way from school, he gets an email from the game master in which he asks, you have killed someone, what are your honest feelings? He deletes the email. He goes home and angrily throws his bag on the bed and wonders, that was my own decision because I understood that everything there is virtual. A child girl comes to his room. She tells him, you should have replied to my email. Yatsuya gets shocked and asks, are you the game master or someone else from the future? She asks him, if I introduce you to the new player, would you like to meet him? He says, yes, I will. She takes him to a Chinese restaurant and tells him that within the next 20 seconds, the new player named Tori Ikeda and his brother Shuji will enter the hotel and they will kill a man. Suddenly, some boys enter there with their faces covered and try to kill a man, but Yatsuya stops them. The leader of that gang comes there and tries to shoot Yatsuya, but that girl gives him magic gloves which he puts on and knocks him down with magic. The police come there and Yatsuya tells them to run away, and then the two brothers run away from there. Yatsuya says to the girl, now my quest has been completed, now I should go home. She says, you saved someone from being killed. How are you feeling now? He says, I don't know, nor do I know what I need to do. He says, I know so much that by doing this, my chances of success in my next quest are increased because I remember when I saved Takatate, then she ended up the quest, so here also I will succeed. Shindu is sitting with friends. Her friend says the police are there. Do you know if there is a murder inside the restaurant? Shindu says something that she doesn't even know what I said. When Hakazaki and Takatate also heard about that incident, they both also don't care. The girl asks Yatsuya if you are deciding that you are the best internet user ever. He says, no, it's not. I am just a kid. I just have delusions of grandeur and I know I'm wrong, but I don't know how to use it. But within this illusion, I know that I am the strongest, and this is proof of my delusions of grandeur. I do what I think is right and I always will. All the heroes find out that they are going back to they reach that world again. This time there is Tori Ikeda as the 5th member of their team. He also goes to that world like Yatsuya and falls into the water and escapes from the monsters. The game master comes and tells them their next quest, that is to offer the Jiffin Buffo at Victimania, and says time limit is 20 days. The game master tells the job of Torii Keita that he will be warrior with spear, and then he leaves. Yatsuya says we should go to Cortonal first and ask them all about it so that we are understood correctly. Shindu says we should first tell Torii how he has to work here. Yatsuya says it is not necessary. We are short on time. Torii grabs him by the collar, then Shindu tells Torii that we are heroes in this world, and if we don't complete the quest, we will all die. Then on the way, Torii engages in a duel with Yatsuya. He uses magic on him, but he still defeats Yatsuya. Then they all go to the city of Cortonal, where they see Kaval with her 2 children. She tells them that 15 years have passed. Seeing this, all they surprised. Then they all sit and eat. Kaval tells them that I am taking care of my 2 children. It is very difficult for me. I have stopped fighting because I have become weak. When Yatsuya lies down at night, Kaval takes him to the roof and they talk there. She expresses her love for him. The next day, they all go on a boat there. A man tells them, "Are you going as mercenaries?" They reach Jiffin Island, where the 2 ritual dancers Yana and Ayu welcome them. Yatsuya asks them what is Victimania. They tells him that is the harvest festival, and do you know what is a Jiffin buffalo? That is a cow. Yatsuya says we will take this cow to the harvest festival. Yana says you can't do that. Then she shows them a castle and tells that orcs live within, and they are very powerful. No one can beat them. We island folk surrendered to the orcs before they could wipe us out. So here mercenaries are called to fight them. They eat human beings, but we offered them cows to save our lives. Now they eat Jiffin buffalo. Yatsuya says so all the buffalo belong to the orcs and you can't use them for human harvest festival. Yana says you kill them before they kill us. At this year's Victimania is in 11 days, and so kill the Orc Queen first when they comes to get buffalo. An orc spy listens to all of them and goes and tells the orcs that they are gathering mercenaries to kill you. The next day the soldiers there are practicing. And the heroes go there and say we have come to participate as mercenaries. Their leader says I am Cantal, I have fought many battles against orcs. He says an orc's weapons are the massive fists unleashed by their long arms. They have to be attacked quickly and out of their range is the way to fight them. He recruits Shindu and Torii to the team and tells the other 3 that you can't form a team because you don't have swords, and here is the job of a warrior. Yatsuya runs away and says now I will raise my rank and I will make the team. He starts farming, then there is a very strong earthquake and all the fruits fall down. Yatsuya asks Yana what fertilizer do you use? She says we use buffalo bomb. He thinks that the island's agriculture is also affected due to orcs. Jiffin is a volcanic island and the surface here is covered with volcanic soil, so there are few plants here. He sees seaweed and shells there. Yana asks can we use it as fertilizer in the fields? Yatsuya says no, we can't use it direct in the fields, it can destroy the crops. He starts work as a chef and mixes the waste in buffalo bung, then he makes fertilizer from it with his magic. While working in the fields, he asks Yana, do you have any song I want to listen to while working? Yana and Ayu sings a folk song. The soldiers are training when one orc comes there and they all attack him, but he kills Shindu and Hakazaki. Then Cantal and his teammates attacks and kills that orc. They all think that maybe Orcs has found out about our plan and says there is a traitor here who is telling them about our plans. They all start talking bitterly to each other. A brave young man named Thanzamer comes there and encourages them all that we will fight for our island. The Orc's queen says we will avenge him. When Yatsuya is working in the fields, the game master comes and says you have reached rank 10 in your wizard creature occupation. Then he becomes a blacksmith. He makes a special weapon with that skill for soldiers and shows them in action with that weapon. He starts making more weapons for them. The mercenaries' leader Cantal comes to him there and tells him that we have completed all preparations for the battle with the orcs. Meanwhile, a man rushes in and says the orcs have attacked us. 3 orcs have attacked them. Shindu and Torii both fight them but are killed. Then Cantal fights with them. Meanwhile, Yatsuya kills an orc by shooting an iron arrow from a large bow. Then Raisen comes there calling the orcs to him, and he runs ahead of them and leads them to the target of Yatsuya. Yatsuya shoots another arrow, wounding the other orc as well. The both orcs run away. Cantal tells them all about the battle planning. Yatsuya says to Hakazaki and Takatate that I have made this bow for both of you. Let's aim at it. They named it the Orc Eater. There come 2 orcs and Raisen and Yatsuya run ahead of them and take them away. Then Takatate hits one of them with that bow. Meanwhile, the game master comes there and says to her you have reached rank 10 in your wizard heat occupation, and she becomes a hunter. Yatsuya attacks another orc but fails and the orc kills him. Raisen attacks, but that orc also hits him. Then orc starts to throw big rocks on their stronghold base. Yatsuya revives and kills one orc, and Takatate takes aim and kills the other orc. They all go to Raisen and says to him you have helped us a lot. Rice-san dies, then Tori Ikeda brings another orc to the target and Takatate shoots and kills him with bow. Yatsuya says to them all we should leave the stronghold. A soldier tells them there are 5 orcs left, then Yatsuya thinks they may be more than that and wants to ambush us, and our quest is to offer Jiffen Buffo at Vakadam. He says we will go to give backup to Vakadam Cave. Then they all leave. Cantle says there are 5 orcs left, then Shindu says no one has seen their queen, she may have followed the ship which has children inside. Then they both go to check. The 2 orcs attacks on eastern high ground. The soldier says 4 heroes are coming here, so we have to stop these orcs till they reach. Cantle and Shindu see the orcs queen and stop her. She says you have killed my children, now I will kill your children in return and I will destroy you all just as you wish. The orc queen says to them, you humans are crazy creatures, you don't know your weakness, you prefer war instead. She attacks them but they escape and fights with her. The other heroes reaches at eastern high ground where they found out that 2 orcs had attacked them and they killed one, but another orc ran wounded and Thanza-san went after him. Yatsuya tells them now we can't scatter, all come together near the blacksmith shop. Yatsuya is making arrows from the blacksmith and asks him if they are made. They say we should take the injured now to Vakadam Cave. Takatate comes there and says yes. Hakazaki says we heroes cannot use the bullets that Grams makes, but if someone else loads bullets we can fire Orc Eater bow. An islander says I will do that. Yatsuya goes to attack Orc's castle, there stands 1 orc outside, meanwhile Thanza attacks on him but he stops his attack and hits him, then he is going to kill him. Suddenly a volcano erupts there and there is a huge earthquake and volcanic bombs fall on them, breaking even the blacksmith's shop. Thanza quickly raises his sword and kills that orc. Due to the earthquake, stones are falling there in front of the cave. Yana and Aoyu saves the injured, but Aoyu stucks in the cave and the stones fall in front of the entrance of the cave and the door is closed. Shindu is looking at this side and thinks that there is a huge earthquake. Meanwhile, the orc queen kills her and picks her and throws into the sea. Then a big tsunami occurs there and sweeps away all the houses. Aoyu leaves the cave through a secret passage and goes out of the castle. Yatsuya asks her to tell me the weakness of this castle from where we can demolish the entire castle in one turn and kill all the orcs inside. She says you can't do that. This castle is the symbol of the island. Our forefathers made it with great effort. Yatsuya says well, I will find my own way. Toriai says about Yatsuya that he is like a machine, he does the work only. Yatsuya sees a dragon flying there and they try to get the orcs out of there, but they can't do that when they try to go inside and kill them, but they only manage to injure 1 orc and the other orc kills Toriai. Meanwhile, Yatsuya sees one of their little child girl. He asks Aoyu about it. She tells him that an orc queen gives birth to 100 children in her lifetime and 4 of which are females. She says I read it from a book about them, also I knows a phrase of their language. Yatsuya says that phrase you speak to the orcs. The orcs queen swims to the ship and thinks, that island is going to sink now, I have to go and collect my family. Meanwhile, Thanza reaches behind her to kill her. Yatsuya devises a new plan to kill the orcs. They carry lava inside a trolley and sit on it and attack them quickly. Yu, on the other hand, speaks to the orcs in their language to distract them. They kill them and take away their child girl. Gramps falls ill and cannot make arrows. The queen attacks on Thanza and defeat him, but suddenly Shindu arrives there and tells her you don't know that heroes don't die. She came alive when the tsunami subsided. Then Shindu fights with her. Takatate pulls out an arrow through Orc's body, but the lava washes her away and she dies. The Orc's queen kills Shindu too, and then she going to kill Thanza, but Hakazaki and Gramps shoot her with Orc Eater bow and wound her because due to the waves the boat has reached the island. Then Thanza kills her with his sword. Hakazaki sees that the boat is going towards lava. She shouts Thanza-san, who tries to stop the boat with his full force. Yatsuya picking up their little child girl, he runs away but an injured orc follows him. Yatsuya injures the girl and throws her into the lava. That orc saves her from falling into the lava, but Yatsuya hits him hard from behind with his hammer and he falls into the lava and both the orc and their child girl dies. Yatsuya and Toriai are going there. They sees man sitting. Yatsuya thinks that dragon is definitely the one sucking the life force out of the islanders. They see that dragon sitting there. Toriai attacks it, but the dragon kills him. Yatsuya run away for his life. He wonders why the dragon didn't come after me to kill me. He is still sitting on the mountaintop. He thinks maybe it is an extremely energy and efficient creature. Yana says I could stop it from sucking out people's strength. Yatsuya says first I have to get all the islanders away from the island. That is the best way to drive it back without fighting. The same person comes running in front of him. Yatsuya carries him on his shoulders and starts running. He becomes a dragon and says I am the dragon bishop who summoned the Darashu dragon. Hearing this, Yatsuya stops and throws him down. Yatsuya says, "You are the one who brought the orcs to this island." They fight, but he kills Yatsuya. He revives and hides behind a big rock. Toriai attacks the dragon from behind, but he dodges it. Dragon casts a spell and kills them both and says, "I heard heroes don't die." Then he runs away. He goes and tries to kill Ayu with his magic, but Yatsuya arrives and saves her. Then Tori comes behind him and injures his hand. Then he runs away from there. They all together erase the magic circles that the dragon has made there. Then the dragon goes back inside the same mountain and everything is fine. They place a cow Vacatomania, and Yatsuya says, "So this will complete our quest, which is offer the Jiffin Buffo at Vacatomania." Donna thanks them and says that this is only because of you guys. Yatsuya says, "We have also done this for our goals." Ayu says to him, "If you were only from this world, I would really want to marry you," and then she leaves saying, "Take care." Then Cantal is lying on a wooden board in the sea and sees that dragon. He calls out to the dragon for help, but suddenly a woman casts this dragon down into the sea by magic. Cantal looks surprised at her. She is the great sorceress Fatina. Yatsuya has returned to his world. Here he meets a girl who tells him that the white girl told me about you. "I am Glinda, I am a videographer." Then he thinks the game master told me that in the future you will meet your 6th team member. Glinda tells him that I know 4 people who have gone to the other world. They have completed 4 levels and now the 5th is about to begin. They are internet users. I have seen videos of some of them, so I know about them. She asks him, "Why don't we start posting stuff ourselves?" They then go into the forest accompanied by Shindu Hakazaki and Yatsuya's friends. There they make a film of adventures acting as they did in the other world, and then a few days later they complete their short film and release it on the internet. They then move to the other world. The game master gives Glinda the warrior occupation and tells them the next quests for the 5th round. He tells them quest is reduce rainbow stare addiction in the kingdom of Goldia to less than 3%. The time limit is 90 days. And the quest B is stop the destruction of the village of Zagroth. The time limit is 30 days. Then they select the quest B first. They all go to Cortonal, but Kaval is dead and her daughter sends them to the village on Zagroth with some merchants. They reach a forest where they do not see any human being, nor can they find any way. There they see a goblin. Toriai attacks it, but that goblin is powerful. He kills Toriai, then the other all attacks and Glinda kills the goblin. They notice saw nothing there. Then they see a house with a little girl in it. They say to her, "Why did you run away seeing us?" She tells them, "My name is Jesby. I thought you were from the village of Zagroth." They asks her where the village of Zagroth. She shows them a volcanic plug and says there is the village of Zagroth. The next day Glinda, Hakazaki and Jesby goes to fetch water. Jesby says, "You stay here while I pick some fruit." Shindu and Takatate bring firewood and hunting. Suddenly Hakazaki gets scared seeing a monster-like human who is the father of Jesby. That man kills Hakazaki and Glinda, but Yatsuya attacks and kills him. Yatsuya says if we don't burn this body it will soon become a pandemic. Then they burn him. Seeing this, all Jesby faints. Glinda says about that man, "He may have been taken over by a parasite, but he was human." Yatsuya says to Hakazaki, "If you can't do such things, tell me, I will do it myself." They all sit in the boat and leave for the village. On reaching there they all go inside that limestone cave. Vampire bats attacks them and Toriai fights with them all. Jesby tells them the story of all the incidents that happened with her and her family. She says that the village chief had sent some villagers to explore a new place that is called Journey of Hope. They reach the entrance to the village. There they are stopped by a boy named Frock. Jesby says he is my neighbor. He tells Jesby your mother is dead and introduces to her younger brother Lana. Yatsuya and Glinda both go out to explore the village. Glinda says to him, "You came out here because it hurt you to watch Jesby. I thought you were a lot more stoic." Yatsuya says, "I think it is closer to regret if we get a little early here. I saved Jesby's mother with my creature magic." There comes a young lady and a little girl. The little girl named Iris, she says to them, "Why are you come here? Our village doesn't need heroes." The young lady tells them, "My grandfather is the chief of this village. His name is Cox Di Rayo." Yatsuya and Glinda both go to meet the village chief, who tells them, "I have heard many rumors of the great heroes that you save people, but it was not expected that you would come so far to a village like this. But you have wasted your time because our village is very peaceful, and your help is not needed here." Yatsuya says, "We heard that powerful monsters have attacked your village." The chief says, "Don't worry, I have planned for it, and here I am to show you something." When they go with him, he locks them in a dungeon and goes away himself. Then he goes to the other heroes and says to them, "The other heroes are at my mansion. You will also come with me. We will serve you well." They all go with him. The chief tells to one of his soldiers to capture Jesby when we leave. As they leave, the soldiers capture Jesby. On the way, they pass a bridge. Bai chief goes ahead and cuts the rope of the bridge. Shindu uses her wind magic to knock down the chief, and they all get out from there. They take the chief with them and go to rescue Yatsuya and Glinda. When they reach this mansion, there are people gathered there who say that they have heard the roar of a monster. During this, the soldiers capture Jesby and take her there. Frock comes there and tries to redeem Jesby, but the soldiers capture him too. Then Frock's mother comes there and she is also caught. Seeing all this, Torii angrily hits them all and says to the chief, "Tell me where Yatsuya and Glinda are or I will kill you." Then he hits him. The chief's granddaughter tells them, "I tossed the key to the dungeon down the old well." The chief says, "That is behind my house and you will never get the key back." Frock says to Jesby, "You go to home for long and with my mother." Suddenly a big monster arrives there. He goes inside and tells them they see that many monsters are coming to attack them. Meanwhile, Yatsuya and Glinda both break the roof and come out to them. Yatsuya says it will take 10 minutes for the monsters to reach the village. Then they all look into the well that the chief mentioned. The chief says that once there was an earthquake, the water has dried up. They thinks the way out of here might be that we go underground. Hakozaki jumps into it. She goes down and falls and dies and then revives. They realize the well is dry from the bottom. They makes a long ladder to go down. And monsters attack. Frock's mother dies and Jesby and Lonan go to him and they go down the stairs into the well. The monsters come towards the mansion and demolish the entire mansion. They all go outside the village through this well and escape from the monsters. On the way, they see a small settlement there. Yatsuya and Glinda both go to investigate. Goblins attack them and the heroes fights and kill them. While fighting, Shindu gets rank 12 and she becomes an elite warrior. Takatate runs off, taking the others with her, but a goblin gets in front of them and tries to kill her. Meanwhile, Glinda kills the goblin from behind. Their Frock's brother Dan meets him. Inside the settlement, they meet the people of the Zagroth village. Jesby tells Dan that your mother died, the monsters killed her. He says, "I am glad you both are alive." Dan says, "A few weeks ago I came across this settlement when I was looking for New Eden. I saw that these people had no proper food to eat. I hunted a deer, I gave it to them." Yatsuya says, "We should leave this place very soon because someone is controlling the monsters. I am sure they will come here too." Dan says we should head for New Eden. He says the original goal of the Journey of Hope was to search for New Eden. Jesby says, "My parents said before they died that there is a peaceful land beyond this forest." Yatsuya says, "We have to leave this forest. The forest is very dense and there is a goblin settlement on our way. We have to pass by it." Dan says there are 30 goblins. Yatsuya says, "But if they have a settlement, we can sneak attack them because they will be gathered in one place." The next day they leave with all the people. On the way, they stay at a place and make a plan that now we will sneak attack on the goblins. They go to Goblin's settlement and Yatsuya says, "I will erase my presence with creature magic and take them out." They start killing goblins and fighting them. Takatate comes to Glinda and says the chief has died, someone killed him. Yatsuya and his teammates kills the goblins and some of them run away from there. The next day everyone learns that Jaka has killed the chief. All of them went to the goblins settlement and they tied Jaka in a hut. At night they are talking to each other when Iris wakes up and goes to the hut where they have kept Jaka. Torii goes after her, but finds that she has turned into a monster like a wireworm. Iris attacks Torii by he kills her and they burn her body. Dan tells them everyone is getting worse. Yatsuya says the same symptoms we saw in Jiffin Island. Takatate says, "So that dragon bishop doing another ritual somewhere around here." Jesby tells them New Eden is past the rising sun on the other side of this forest. Suddenly the monsters attack them. They fight and beat them, but a troll comes there and he kills and eats Shindu and Hakozaki. Meanwhile, Cantal attacks him and he runs away. Yatsuya tells him, "I heard Tsunami took you away." He says, "Yes, but Fatina saved my life. After that I became her pupil and now I am training in sorcery." Fatina sensed that there was a dragon bishop in this area, so she sent me here. Some months ago, a meteorite containing immense magic power fell near here. I was following the meteorite's waves, so I found you. The blood ritual requires the life force of humans. Then he shows them Yggdrasil seeds and says they grow by absorbing magic power. By growing these seeds, the magic power of the meteorite in this area can be sealed. Yatsuya says, "I will grow these seeds as much as I can with my creature power." The next day he grows the seeds. Cantal says, "I am going to investigate the area. There should be a magic circle somewhere." Then he leaves. They go to find the troll. He spots them outside the forest. They attacks him, but the troll kills Torii and Takatate. Then Torii revives and kills the troll. They see the main part of the meteorite on the mountain. Yatsuya says the New Eden might be up there. Then they climb that mountain. When they reach the top, there is nothing. But when they start to go back, seeing the spring there, Yatsuya remembers the chief's words and he jumps into it. When he goes underwater, he sees a new town. So he asks something from the people there, and then he realizes that this is New Eden. Glenda sees red magic in Jesby's eyes and says, "You are the Dragon Bishop." Glenda says everything that she noticed about her and tells everyone this fact. Then Dragon Bishop appears on her face and she tells them, "Iris had seen me, so I killed her, and then I left the Frog's mother to die." A flying dragon comes there. She casts her magic on them, but Cantle comes there and attacks her, but she flies away sitting on the dragon. Cantle says, "I didn't realize you were a Dragon Bishop." Yatsuya comes out from the water and tells them there is a city in the water. Then he says those who came from the village of Sagroth jumped into the water to drown themselves, but they moved to New Eden. Meanwhile, Dragon Bishop arrives there. He does a magic and summons all the monsters towards him. Then suddenly all the monsters come out towards them. But when the monsters approach them, they pass them by and attack New Eden. The heroes stop them and kill them. The Dragon Bishop magically knocks down Cantle. Yatsuya goes to him to heal, but he says, "Don't worry about me, you should destroy the magic circle. There are golems, they are 6, you can destroy them, that is the magic circle." Then Yatsuya says to his teammates, "We have to take out the golems. They have magic circles on their backs. If we destroy them, they cannot carry out the blood ritual." The Dragon Bishop then casts a spell and all the monsters start hitting them. Then Yatsuya goes to fight with him. The dragon works its magic on Yatsuya, due to which his weapons don't work on the Dragon Bishop, but while fighting, Yatsuya injures it, and inside its wound he puts the seed from which that dragon loses all its power and falls down. Then they kill all the monsters and break the magic circle. The next day, the dragon itself gets inflamed and dies. Fatina arrives there and breaks the meteorite. They all go to New Eden and meet the people there. Everyone gives thanks to the heroes. The game master comes there and says to Glenda, "Now you can ask a question." She asks, "How could the dragon appear in our own world?" The game master says there is a small hole that connects the two worlds. That hole continues to widen until the dragon will enter. They all return to their own world.